And we're back.
With Clarify.
Can you tell that we didn't write these intros?
Yeah. Off the cuff.
Yeah.
Off the cuff.
But we're going to meet a sweet little speck of dust today and talk about all the good things that are in this song. The second song on the album Clarity, but really like the start of our journey.
Really like the main, really getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Morning Light was a shorter tune.
Yeah.
Speck
And
of
this
Dust,
is
our
like
first full-length tune.
First beef tune.
First meal. Yeah.
Yeah. So as
Beef meal.
Yeah. As we told you guys last time, we're going to start each episode with me giving a little bit of, just some history or like fun anecdotes, background to the song, before we really like dig into it. So here's Cassidy's little history.
Cassidy's history corner.
History corner.
Sitting off in the corner with a little book, just changes to you in there, and you're just like
slowly panning, and I have like gray hair and glasses, and I have like mother hen energy.
You have the mug is that character. It's
grandmother
there.
Mug. Yeah. I like this little story that goes along with this song. Okay. So I was like in between houses and staying with my friends, and they had this nice tiny little like wood paneled music room, and they were both gone. So I kind of had the house to myself, and I had my keyboard set up, good old Kronos set up. And it was like the perfect time of day in that room, at least for it was giving like golden hour energy. It was so nice. It was the summertime, and I had just really started writing music. And so I was like sitting down with the intention to write. I didn't have anything on my mind like prior to this like session of just trying to write. And I noticed that like the sun was coming in through the windows in just the right way, that all of the little like specks of dust were being illuminated. And it just got me thinking like, these poor little specks, they don't even know that there's a big old world out there, and they're just floating around this sad little room. Like, will they ever escape and experience all that is left to be experienced? And honestly, like that was the time where I was still in that place where I was in my musical battle. Like I was fighting my inner critic all the time and perfectionism. And like I wanted to experience more musically, like put myself in improvisational settings and figure out kind of where I belonged in music more. And if you harken back to our Morning Light episode, I kind of told the story of, it was either last episode or the intro, but I told the origin of like the tree as a symbol for me, right? Where it's supposed to represent this like reframing of, art is not this big and scary bad thing. It should be this thing that you're lucky to get to partake in, And so like I had already had that image as a symbol for me in my life. And Speck of Dust is kind of the first time, like when I was writing the song, it was like that first time where I was being gentle with myself. I was like, yes, you still need to do these things. Like you need to spend your time wisely. And, you do want to reach your highest potential. But instead of like berating myself about it, it was this like, like I said, just this gentle way of like, you know what? You're just like that little speck of dust. You're confining yourself in this little room, and although it's a lovely room, there's a whole world out there, and like you should go and experience these new things and reach your full potential. And despite that being perceived as risky and scary, like you should do that. So yeah, this one, and going to the pointillisms, like the image that I used to convey this song is the tree, like the evergreen tree, right? Because it is so closely related with, this is kind of like my idea of the tree symbol in a song. Yeah. So, I would say this song's purpose is it's like an elaboration of Morning Light. Like, you could almost set these two back.
Yeah, I always think of when you do finally open your eyes in Morning Light, you're looking at the sun potentially coming through the blinds, which is Speck of Dust.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even mentioned it last episode. There's an overlap there.
Yeah, and that actually is like an album-wide thing. Like, we said we have our 3 chapters. Each chapter, it's like a prelude and then a bigger song.
Begins with a prelude, yep.
And those 2 songs go together.
So not as Morning Light a prelude to the record, but it's a prelude and just for chapter 1.
Right.
Yeah, and the prelude and the next song are they're
right. So Morning Light does, like, Speck of Dust is an elaboration on the ideas that we find in Morning Light. And so this song also is inspired by Dylan Thomas's poem, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. And like I said, it serves as this gentle reminder to reflect on how you're spending your time. Is the way that you're spending your time gonna line up with your goals and your visions and what you want out of life, or does it not? That's kind of the purpose of the song, is to just contemplate. And ultimately, like, for me, I guess I realized I do need to go out and not just be the little speck of dust trapped in my little comfort zone of the safe little wooden paneled room, but take the leap and start going on an adventure.
Uneasiness versus complacency of Morning Light.
Yeah.
Sets that up.
Right. Totally. So lyrically, I think this concept is really depicted nicely, right? Because we are influenced by that Dylan Thomas poem, and the chorus lyrics, I hope this is kosher that I did this.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, we'll see. Nobody sue me.
It's a word. Yeah, I don't know if it's
but it says,
I don't think it's trademarked or anything.
Right. Quietly time slips away, don't you live a gentle day, rage against the dying light, don't you fear that good night.
Yeah, it's not even the same.
No.
It's like an homage. It's clearly an homage.
Yeah. Well, that was my intent. And, that message is harsh and pressing. Like,
how are you spending your time? Yeah.
Yeah. How are you spending your time? But
because you're going to die.
Yeah. But musically, I think it's an important thing to notice that there's a huge contrast. Like, while the lyrics are like, wake up and smell the coffee, you're going to die.
Yeah.
You don't want to regret anything when you're like lying on your deathbed. The music serves as this nice little vessel in which it's like, I think we mentioned Speck of Dust, and then he's in his little like rocket ship.
Yeah.
Like, the music is kind of like this just coasting, nice, lovely thing. Feels like a hug. That also harkens back to what we were talking about in Morning Light, is like, we wanted the music to represent this like this inner voice that's tugging at you, but something that you want to respond to, rather than be like, you don't want someone chastising you. You don't want someone berating you.
Yeah.
Like, it's really hard to feel motivated to do anything about something when you're just defeated before you even start because of the dialogue, right?
Right.
So I think it was super intentional to have the music in Speck of Dust feel like a place that you want to be.
There's juxtaposition there. There's salience. Yeah. Like, there's a deception. You could argue that the intense nature of that message is
right.
It's not familiar or deceptive, but it is, in a way, it's deceptive in the sense that it's like negative,
right.
Not negative, but hard.
Yeah.
And then it's easy is kind of something easy is because there's a familiarity to easiness.
Right.
And that again brings some salience from in between the lyrical narrative and the sonic texture of the song. Yeah,
and absolutely represents my posture change that I was striving for. Like, I flipped from beating myself up and being so hard on myself to the point of just like, I don't even want to try, like, music sucks, I hate everything, to no, you get to be a part of art, that you are lucky to be able to do that. Don't take that for granted, but with a nice kind edge to it. Not like, if you don't do this, you're continuing to mess up and be terrible and you're never going to reach your potential. It's like, no, do it because it's fun. Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to convey is like, okay, we've made the assumption that sweet little speck of dust, which is kind of representative of our character, gets out of the window somehow, and we have a lot of space in this song sans lyrics and vocal melody. And I always had the vision of having a lot of production elements going on.
That was something from the very beginning.
Yeah. I always wanted it to feel like you are the speck of dust in your little spaceship and you're in this new world for the first time. And it's like, oh, look at that. There's a waterfall over there. Ooh, look at that. Like the colors of the trees are something that I've never seen before. So the way that we decided to do that is have all of these production elements float in and float out to also kind of convey like we're moving through this space. Like we're not in a stagnant area. So, I remember before onboarding, I was like, this one is going to have the most like in your face production elements, which I don't know if they're necessarily in your face, but we do have a lot of like elements that I think it's more of just
like a clear sense of a world. Really it, whether how like it's not like a dream world. It's not like fictional. It's like a real, it's like a grounded real world, but it's still like fiction in the sense of like a little speck of dust riding a rocket ship throughout, the outside.
Yeah.
But you had said something about the musical narrative about how it's to promote the spirit of observation. Yeah. I think that's really a big part of this.
Yeah. So all that being said, I think the duality that we landed on is spot on. This idea of fulfillment versus regret, which that's, if you just read the Dylan Thomas poem alone,
right,
I would say that's the duality of that poem.
Yes, absolutely.
And then if you of course, I'm like you said, I'm trying to pay homage to that, but then also filter it through where I'm at in life and what I'm experiencing. And I really was in that same spot of I want to live a full life and reach my goals and reach my full potential. And I don't want to have anything to regret. And with that realization, this is how we move forward.
So when it came to like, the classic onboarding procedures that we will always kind of start these with, Cassidy told me that, about these moments, about these production value things. That was one of these big things the things that she's talking about now. That was from the get-go. Like onboarding documents, we talked about that. It's like, I want like an environment, and the song didn't have much of an environment, right? And when we get to maybe the beginning, we might play you the example from the other version just to kind of show you what that difference is.
Yeah.
The narrative is really informing the production. So one idea that Cass had was synths, and I think some of the synth stuff that we discovered on this song really like help us find more things on the whole record too, which is like really interesting to think about. It's just like this was an exploration, right, in the synth sort of texture. There were some little things too. Even we talk about compositional moments and being intentional. There was this fill in that it still is there. Yes. But before it was there with no context. And it was very huge. It was a big deal. It was classic, like chopsy, kind of like show-offy kind of fill, which is cool.
Shout out RJ Walker.
Yeah, very talented, very amazing, like sounds super cool. Yeah. Compositionally, this is like a good example of like what a producer is for. Yeah. It's the drummer's job to lay down a sick fill when they think it's important, right? Yeah. It's a producer's job to be like, okay, why was that there? Why did you do that there? What was the purpose of that? Where's it leading to? What are we trying to do with that? Right? Okay, maybe that, I like what you did with that fill, but can we lead up to this section with that fill instead? Or, okay, if that's a cool idea, let's go off of that. Okay, if that fill is going to be there, what can we do to celebrate that moment? And is that creating an arrival or an important, narrative moment that we can like highlight? Again, it's respecting the listener. It's respecting the listener being like, wow, that's a big deal. It's having the foresight to know that the listener is going to hear that and think that's a huge deal. Right. And in the state that it was in, it was just
underdeveloped.
Too out of context. Yeah. It just came out of nowhere. Right. And it just didn't make sense to me. So I was like, immediately I was like, we need to do something about that. And we'll talk about that when we get to that part of the form. Right. So that was another little thing. And there's things like that throughout the whole record where sometimes it is just like there's a drum fill, 2 bars or 1 bar, Right. And that think about how much that shapes that whole moment of the song.
Oh, it's like the peak.
It creates the peak.
It's like the climax of the
which
song.
is what it wanted to be.
Totally.
But there was there was nothing around it respecting it that it was the peak.
Yeah.
And communicating that it was the peak.
That was a huge compositional lesson. Like I would say just, in working on the album, there's inherently these situations that unfold. And then I get to listen to Aaron talk about like, why is that fill there? And I'm like, I don't know. RJ did it and it sounded cool.
There it is. Just like I say.
And then I get to hear him be like, well, really listen to, like,
yes, it does sound cool.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it does sound cool. So like, let's make it sound like, let's make it have reason.
Cool and appropriate.
Yeah. Like cool and appropriate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Being appropriate. Like that's totally it.
Right.
Like you wouldn't go to a French non-experimental fine dining restaurant and expect to get fried chicken and mashed potatoes and corn.
Right.
Like, unless that they were like this really like, like chic upscale, like experimental French restaurant that was like reintegrating like American traditional cuisine in some really interesting way. Like you don't expect to go to a traditional French restaurant and get traditional American food.
Right.
Like it's like there's just things that are appropriate.
Right.
For the setting. And I think that this thing is just an example of that.
Yeah. That drum fill used to be fried chicken in France. And now
fried chicken is good, but it doesn't make much sense in a French restaurant.
Right.
It's just reality's kind of shifted there.
Right. Now it sounds like fried chicken from Bolton's.
There you go. Bolton's.
Appropriate fried chicken.
Bolton's, it messed me up once, and I don't know. People are going to hate me for my dislike of Bolton's, but it was too spicy. I can handle a lot of spice, and it was too much. It was too much for me to eat.
It's okay.
Shout out to Josh Best, one of my closest friends. Him and I went there, and we ate a few bites and we throw it in the garbage because we're just like, this is not enjoyable.
That's hilarious.
Anyway.
That's not like our drum fill. Our drum fill is like the best.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we're kind of like zooming out and overviewing the song as a whole, the sweet little speck of dust synth is crucial.
Yeah.
And we'll make sure to point that out so that you guys can hear that and know what we're talking about.
Yeah, when we get to in the beginning of the tune, we'll point that out.
Yeah. And he's our little character. It's so weird that I like think that he's a boy. But
interesting.
He's representative of our little character.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Maybe. Who knows?
You think of like, what is this little snail?
Gary?
No, not SpongeBob. No, the shell. The shell guy. Marcel the
Shell with shoes on.
I think of him as a boy.
I think she's a girl.
Is it actually a girl?
I don't know.
I haven't seen the movie.
Characters are weird. They live in our brains in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I think something that's also noteworthy is that oftentimes in our like making of the record, our classic situation that we ran into was like, oh yeah, there's this like completely composed, crafted keys part, and then we just build everything around it. So when I brought it to you, you'll hear it in the demo, but the Rhodes part is unchanged, like from how I originally composed it. And then it was up to us to be like, okay, but how then do we build this world?
Yeah.
So maybe it's cool to think about like, okay, if I can just imagine the Rhodes, the drums, the bass, and the lead vocals, most of the BGVs, like that is what I brought to you. And then from there, we added everything else.
Yeah, formally this one didn't change a ton.
We extended the second chorus.
The last chorus.
Yeah, but everything else is like pretty much exactly the same.
In regards to some other ones that were changed a lot more, Part of that makes sense because as a producer, it's like artists are bringing you their songs on the instrument they know how to physically play. In your case, you're very adept at piano. Sometimes an artist just has an instrument because like they need an instrument to write their song.
Yeah.
Right. So for you, it's like, here's a composition on piano. Here's the thing. Here's the plan. And that keeping that spirit alive is important, but it's also sometimes important to realize, was this song just written on this instrument because it was an outlet to write it and it actually needs to be extrapolated somewhere else?
Right.
Or is this physical part that is written and the song actually existing the whole time and you're building around it?
Right.
And for most of this record, I would say that a lot of it's like that piano part that you wrote the song on is an element that is 100% present as its own self throughout the whole song.
Yeah.
And we were building the productions around it.
Yeah.
And even in this sense where it's like, well, we're building a world around the song. I think that's a very valid, approach of just like, well, that DNA, again, I use the word like genome and DNA a lot. And like, it's like, it's that core element that's just like,
it's like that, whatever makes us the same as like 40% banana. Like there's got to be some like unchanging.
What?
Yeah, we share 40% of the same DNAs.
No way.
Yes, with bananas.
Where did you hear this?
High school. And I fact check it since. So whatever you're talking about is like that.
That's crazy.
That part of DNA that like doesn't ever change potentially.
Wow. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect analogy.
Totally get it. Cool. And then it's pretty obvious, but this one features a lot of forward compositional energy. Like and I think that's
and it's the world building.
Yes. Totally.
Yep.
Each section just totally wants and needs to go to the next section until we reach the end.
Creating that forward compositional energy is important to keep that listener, and we use salience to do that. We use a lot of things to do that, narrative things.
Yeah, and I think this was one of the first ones too. So it wasn't
the first one that I worked on, but it was the first one that we really got into you having ownership.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Like, we mentioned this before, but it was important for me to put my own voice on the songs and not just, although I think I could have just handed everything over to Aaron.
Voice meaning like compositional voice.
Yeah, compositional
not
voice.
Physical voice.
I think I could have handed over everything to you, and because you understood me so well, it probably would have sounded great. And
which a couple of the songs are that way in this record, which we'll talk about.
That's true, but this was one where I distinctly remember during our
more of
COVID times
are this way too.
Yeah, like I remember writing the beginning like string pads and a lot of like the secondary layers that are pretty prominent, and I was just
you recorded some synth stuff. You recorded a lot, various things.
I was like, I'm claiming my song, like I'm doing it, which was awesome.
Yeah
100%. So are we ready to dig in?
Let's dig in.
We've got headphones on.
We've got Cassidy's history corner. We've got what else do we've got? I don't know, other things. The emotional, we're going back with them. We also dig in. At the beginning of this tune, we start with a texture of strings and Rhodes and some other things, a Juno synth that we refer to as the luscious milkshake.
That had to be Jesse.
And this sweet little speck of dust synth. Let's show you this sweet little speck of dust synth right off the bat here.
Totally sounds like he's in a little rocket ship.
He's a cute little guy.
I know. What is he up to?
Here he's kind of not in the rocket ship yet, but he's like inside, I think, right? The beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something about it.
But it's very outer space, speck of dust kind of vibes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a sweet little speck of dust. And but the main thing too is we get the first iteration of what ended up being a piano solo.
Right.
Solo, we'll
yes.
say in quotes.
Yes, definitely in quotes.
Right.
A solo.
And we'll talk about that. This was kind of a composed solo in a way, soloistic composition, where it sounds like it could be a solo, but it was intentionally composed. And it actually comes back 2 other times in the song.
With it's like variation on a theme.
And variations, exactly. So we're kind of like soloing across formal sections and changing and developing that concept.
Yeah.
Cass, do you want to talk a little bit about stepping up to the plate in regard to this whole like piano solo thing?
Totally. Well, I think, with this song being about okay, don't waste your time, live up to your full potential, you know. And I was right in the crux of that narrative shift between like, oh my God, I hate this, I want to die. And you know what? Trying new things and sounding bad is not going to make me want to die. And like, it might make me better.
Yes.
And, you know, that is what I was talking about. I was talking about my musical relationship when I was writing this song, I think, more so than anything.
Sure.
And, you know, when you were like, hey, you know, you should add all the secondary stuff. And hey, what about, you know, now that the Rhodes is working with the strings and we have all this other atmosphere going on, we really need something to capture the attention, right? Because we had talked about all of these elements floating in and out, whatever. You're like, I think the presence of acoustic piano could be crucial, and that should probably be the thing that's floating everything, right? Because it's like, this song is representative of you and your musical journey, and like, it just fits that we have this solo acoustic piano thing. And you're like, you know what, I think that you should be the one to compose it or to perform it. And inherently, to compose, you have to improvise, right? And so the goal was always compose something so that we can achieve the goal of, when it comes back in these two other predetermined times, it sounds like someone was improvising, you know, and then just elaborating as if it was like one take in a studio or something. But still, from my perspective, it was like, how can I write a song about putting myself out there musically and, you know, not wasting my potential or being blah, 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 being scared, and me personally not step up to this like improvisatory plate.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'll always probably value, even though it ended up being like a composed solo, something that we altered together and crafted in order to land on its final version.
The root of it was improvised.
And it was really cool for me to just spend time with it alone. Like, it doesn't even, it's one of those things where the process of it is even more important than the final version.
Yes.
Because I used to be so scared that I wouldn't even try things if I was alone and no one could hear me, you know? And it's hard to think back to 3 or so years ago, but I probably was still there a little bit. So even soloing over it, like I was still grappling with like, oh my God, this is so ugly. Like, oh, you piece of shit that you can't just like play something perfectly on the first time. Blah,
God,
blah,
you
blah,
have
blah.
such a drill sergeant in your mind.
Yeah. That's why changing it to this nice, loving little tug of an inner voice is important. Yeah. So like I had to use this song as a vessel to achieve what I was going for. You know, you can't just write a song about that and not do anything about it. Yeah. So, yeah, the piano solo is very representative of that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, underneath this piano solo, as I mentioned, it's a combination of synth pad, strings, Rhodes, you know, this SOD synth, and it's the basis of the world that the SOD will, you know, we'll explore. Our little speck of dust, you know, where will he go? Well, we have some of these timbres that we're getting familiar with in this. You know, it becomes apparent right as we go into first one. It's like our SOD's there, and there's the world he's existing, and we can kind of live in that space. Yeah,
but drums are here, right? Because all of those instruments that you just listed can be carried over from our Morning Light environment.
Yeah, so what's interesting is drums don't come in until verse one.
Right.
Yeah, so like that's what I mean. Is like we're still no drums while we're like SOD's getting used to this world, and then as soon as vocals come in, there's the drums. Right. So now we get drums for the first time in the record. And that delayed entrance, what's interesting about the drum and bass entrance is that it's even delayed by like a beat or so. Yeah. So it's like the formal change happens. This is like a great salient thing. It's like, talk about the formal arrival. Right. We expect, as listeners, based on our ecology of popular styles, when formal changes happen, we expect textural changes to happen. Right. Well, as the verse one happens and we don't get drums and bass on the downbeat, we're like, wait, whoa. And then right after the drums and bass come in, it's giving us that familiarity. So we're deceived and then immediately given something familiar after this expectation that we've created. That's super salient to be able to do something like that. Doing it too much can get overbearing. Yeah. But for the start of the song in relation to Morning Light and the record, it sets us up in a really great place. Right. Wait. And so if I'm remembering correctly, the drums enter in when I say Speck of Dust.
the titular reference. Is that true?
It's funny, like how well we know these tunes, but like it's always great. Investigate.
So we got a little backbeat.
Just the backbeat. And bass is there, but then the actual
kick drum and time.
We get actual time from a hi-hat and kick drum. We get a true sense of full drum texture.
Yeah.
So it's like we ease it in. It even has its own sort of salience. It's like,
right.
Drums are here, but so that's familiar, right? You were expecting drums, but it's only backbeat on rim click.
Right.
Right. And it's not the full beat that you would expect potentially, which maybe at the beginning of the song, so maybe you wouldn't expect a full beat. And we do get bass. But bass and drums are not really tied together as a rhythm section yet. Bass is more supporting the underneath harmonic representation of the piano. Yeah. And drums are just being like, there's going to be a backbeat in this song. Just you wait. Here it is. But just you wait for the drum beat. Then bass does that little drop and we land on kick drum and hi-hat time. And now it's like, okay, rhythm section is tied together and a unit now on the word Speck of Dust, highlighting the name of the song, bringing attention to that in that way. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's really, there's a lot of, it's a form of, we talked about text painting in the last episode. That's a form of text painting, right? If a Speck of Dust is this character, we're using an orchestrational moment, a textural change to highlight this character, this name of this little character, which again, whether you think of it as an inanimate speck of dust or an animate speck of dust, doesn't really matter. Right. So very, very salient in that way. Yeah. So then we move on to what we're calling sort of pre-chorus 1A. Yeah. Because it's sort of like a false pre-chorus that doesn't lead to a chorus, which is kind of a neat formal decision. It leads back to a verse. Right. And it's foreshadowing the texture that will lead us to the chorus in a nice way. So we're providing the listener with content that's going to create familiarity later when it comes back, and then deceives by not going back into the verse, but actually going to the chorus that we feel it wanting to go to. Yeah. And this is a huge moment too for world building, using a bunch of different elements. Like, it's our first big like textural change. Right. And you and I used the language, like when we were recording this, it's like, this should feel like a gust of wind. This should feel like this. Like, you know, we were always referring to a piano thing that'll happen like as the waterfall, like stuff like that. Yeah, it's a lot of different like visualizations here. Yeah, so when we listen to this pre-chorus, it should feel like a gust of wind, but how do you make something sound like a gust of wind? We have these BGVs that are swelling. We have a string swell. We have this big gestural piano thing, and the harmony pulls a lot of weight too. Because when you think of a gust of wind, you either think of something moving faster forward or something lifting. Like a gust of wind comes by and then a pile of leaves is dispersed higher into the air. And so I think of it too as like circular, almost like a like, it's a gestural thing. Yeah. So I think we're in E flat for this song. But then we use some like borrowed chords for this section to kind of help us feel this like upward lift. Yeah, the harmony has been fairly like back and forth, you know. It's been very much between just a few different chords here, right? Yeah. And then here we go. Right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure most of those are diatonic too. Like 1, 6 minor, 1, 6 minor, and then we kind of like plane down. Your 5 is supposed to be dominant, but we got very major 7. Passive energy. Yeah, I learned about major 7 chords, and I said, hey, I'm going to use these a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's very passive movement. Yeah. But then you rock back and forth, right? Whole step. Well, yeah, so we land on this like 5, which is a major 7, and then I turned the 2 into major 7 too, and then go back to 1 major 7. Same thing. And then here is our pre-chorus gust of wind. We got the D flat. And then notice that the top voice of everything is ascending. This G flat thing. And then F major 7. And then using B flat
and C major 7 to get us back into the top of the verse
nice
again.
And smooth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then underneath those things with the piano, we have, again, these gestural moments. Like I'll solo out. We have strings and vocals doing this. Right, and actually I'll add synth on top of that. I'll add Luscious Milkshake on top of that.
Yeah.
Right, and then I'll add guitar and our sweet little speck of dust and
Rhodes
piano.
And piano. Yeah.
Right, so we kind of hear, especially this is the waterfall piano, kind of this, yeah,
it's like this lazy cascade.
Very lazy cascade, yeah.
It's like a lazy river.
Absolutely. Again, gust of wind, differing in texture, also accompanied by difference in harmony. This short pre-chorus, it's 2 bars, offsets, 8 bars of verse and 8 bars of intro that happened before it.
Right.
So again, salience, big deception, but in a short period of time against a long period of familiarity beforehand to create balance.
Yeah. So our waterfall piano, is that when it enters? Like, is that when it first has a little?
Yep, it's been soloistic. It was soloistic in the intro, non-existent in the verse.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then that takes us to
back to verse 2.
Yeah.
We're calling verse 1B technically. Yeah.
Then the presence of that piano kind of stays, doesn't it?
Well, so we have these other sort of responsive, like simpler little gusts of wind coming from the piano and the Wurlitzer here.
Yeah. And then we kind of head back.
And then it goes back into the pre-chorus too. The actual pre-chorus 1B technically that will lead to the first chorus.
Yeah.
So we also experiment with with panning of those little mini waterfall things so we can bring attention to them. The parts are similar, but the timbres are different.
Yeah.
Right. And so it creates a little bit more kind of differentiation in this world. It colors in the world with a little bit more variety and variation.
Right. It's like we're in the woods, but maybe the piano is like the rustling leaves in the treetops versus like, crunchy leaves on the ground. Sounds like that distorted road.
Yeah, it can be any sort of thing that's similar but has slightly different variables.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love that.
This one was really fun to think about in regards to our like tree ideology.
Every song we can really correlate them so well to the tree business. Yeah.
So then we end up back at a pre-chorus. The harmony's the same. It's the same length. But how did we differentiate this one to push us towards the chorus if we have, we've already stated like we have such forward motion in this song?
One of the main differences is that the Speck of Dust is very much improvised throughout the song. So it's never the same. It's very much just completely through composed, very different. So we feel that inherent sense of difference just from that. But also, like the main difference is just more about what is the result, right? The point of the first pre-chorus was to not go to the chorus.
Right.
So the point of this pre-chorus is to actually land on the chorus. So the difference is really in its relationship and its purpose, because a pre-chorus has a energetic purpose. It has a forward momentum. It's preparing for the chorus. It has this distinct kind of quality, whereas verses, we very much want to sit in them.
Yeah.
We want to exist in that verse, and we want to be there and hear what the person has to say.
Yeah.
Learn more about what's going on. Pre-chorus is about pushing that energy forward. So the fact that we push it forward to nothing in the first time it hints, and then now finally push it. That's really what the second pre-chorus is about. It's like, let's say like, we're going to go there again, and this time we'll give you what you want, right?
Yeah.
We'll land on that chorus.
And I would say that there's like more exploration. in this one.
Yeah, and the piano line again is an improvised. It's not exact. It's not copy and paste. It's
right.
The timing's a little different, right? So again, it's a lot of that. We'll be talking about these improvised versus composed elements in this song, where there's this natural kind of breath, that exists throughout the whole record. And this song, not as much as even some other songs, but this one's definitely up there as far as like the synth part, the Speck of Dust synth. It's improvised.
Yeah.
It was just like, kind of, let's just like mess around and go on a little journey.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of little elements like that.
Yeah. So then we arrive at our chorus.
Now, what's interesting about the chorus is that the Speck of Dust was very much one-sided for the most part and just very simple. And there's only a couple, it's very present in the intro. In the verse, there's only about 2 or 3 interjections. But when we go through the second half of the verse and through the second half of verse 1 after that false pre-chorus, and then through the pre-chorus into the chorus, it's happening in both ears. It's kind of zooming around a little bit more. It's a lot more dense. There's just more exploration. And this chorus brings us to a place of feeling a little bit more grounded. We have backbeat coming from the snare. We have there's a bit more kind of like intentional, less passive energy. Yeah, it's a lot more present.
Even within the lyrics, like
the lyrics are distinctly paying homage to the Dylan Thomas poem here.
The verse and the pre-chorus are just kind of these passerby your thoughts. It's like if you're a stream of consciousness and then you tune in to kind of what you're thinking about. It's like bits and pieces of stuff that I was thinking ended up just being the verses. This is very poignant and like matter of fact,
right? Like very serious.
Yeah,
right?
And
so
I
think the groundedness of the there's more repetition. There's more things like that. We get backbeat from the snare and all that.
And just one other thing, it is so stupid to sing this song. It is like impossibly hard. That chorus melody. Yeah. The timing, the melody, the range, the lack of space to take a breath. Gosh.
Which actually, fun fact. Yeah. Sneaky fun fact.
Yeah.
Every other line is actually recorded separately.
Because I had to.
Yeah, which I think that's an aesthetic choice. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It's responsive. They're technically panned slightly left and right.
Yep.
So they are actually intentionally, like, we embraced that continuity, and it's like this call and response of the own self kind of talking to, hey, don't be doing this. It's like your conscience is yelling at you.
Yeah.
The song is about, we'll get to this in a minute, but it's about the consciousness starting to become aware. We're using this little mini narrative of the speck of dust looking at the world around itself to say, like, oh, you're becoming aware of your consciousness and what the world is like and the change you might need to make.
It's like the voices floating around the head of little speck of dust. It's like, quietly time slips away. Didn't you know that? So don't do this, says the other voice that passes on the other side of the speck of dust. It's like, totally reminds me of that. Which is super cool. But then disclaimer, if you hear me sing this live, don't hold me accountable to sounding like the record. Please don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just a lot of really interesting new elements. Like the piano comes in for the first time as an actual instrument on this repeated part.
Yeah.
And with guitar, we can look at Rhodes piano and guitar actually for a second and see, there's an interesting kind of energy there and constants. There's a lot of unique energy that comes from the piano and some of those repeated elements.
Yeah. And I would say there's like a certain intensity that comes because of those things too. It's like the music is kind of pulsing and persistent. And then the lyrics are also the most intense that we've gotten. Like, here are your commands. Yeah. And then we end up in our little interlude, which is like, whew, okay.
Yes, our first
we can take a deep breath
since the intro, which is why we have the piano come back and have something to say.
Because it's the same harmony. The intro and then this interlude
same
is
musical
the same
section, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a nice little palate cleanser.
Yep, it gives us a familiar salience after the unfamiliar chorus and the deception of the chorus. We'll bring back to familiar a familiar element, which gives us a little bit of salience and balance.
Yeah.
And the piano part, which we'll get back to in a second, is leading somewhere, which, you know,
right.
we'll show you that. The Juno is very warm. We have these really warm kind of synth tones happening that's filling up this middle register of just really, you know, really significant piece of gear. It's just it's a retro synth that is very important because it's, you know, its role early on in the development of synths, and Jesse and a lot more synth people know more about this instrument than me, but it really was all over this whole record. This is what I mean about when I said about things we discovered. I'm not even sure if Speck of Dust was the first thing we recorded with Jesse.
I think we recorded them in order.
Did we?
This was a huge, this was where we discovered, hey, let's double these string parts with the Juno.
Yeah, so it was a big discovery of just like, this thing is warm. It's creating a very interesting kind of semi-organic electronic texture that is really bringing this the palette and the canvas of this record into a place that is very special. Yeah. Very, very, you know, just unique with that combination, especially because when we did these sessions, Jesse brought over a few instruments, and he basically was like the captain of the ship of the synths.
Absolutely.
He was like moving knobs pretty much only.
Yeah.
And consistently.
Yeah.
Like, he never really played a keyboard.
No.
Like, Cassidy and I were the ones playing the piano.
And honestly, mostly you.
Maybe it was mostly me. I think I may have done the Speck of Dust synth. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
if that
unless it was a certain part that was doubled. Like, it was.
If it involved the chord change that was about like the piano and being close to the piano, it was you.
But in regards to bringing this, you know, sometimes you just need someone else to have a fresh take on. You know, these songs were so old to me by that time that it is sometimes hard to hear new ideas.
Yeah, it's like being a producer is being a composer. It's like composing, you know, manifesting a compositional idea that you're verbalizing to me.
Totally.
It's like, oh, we need this to feel like this and that and this and that. And I'm communicating to Jesse, and Cassidy's communicating to Jesse, and he's dialing in the tone. And then while I'm performing, Jesse's manipulating that sound so it has life, and he's moving the filter knob like a literal millimeter to make some of the biggest difference, because it's analog.
Yeah,
it's analog gear. It's very finicky. I was just in the studio with like a hearback system that is analog.
Yeah,
and it's not even fully analog, and the volume dial was like, the difference between 4 and 5 is like insane. I was just trying to turn up a little bit, and I was like, boop, and I was like, that's too loud. So sometimes that happens. You have to be really detail oriented.
Yeah.
To be able to be like, Jesse, that's too much on that.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh my God. So we made this joke that we wish we could just build Jesse a knob that was like the size of a freaking dinner plate.
Yeah.
And just so that way you could make really small moves and it would be really small. Like you could, you know, like the resolution would be so big that you could just be like, scoot it a little bit.
To have the smallest difference.
Instead of trying to do the small difference with this tiny little knob.
Yeah.
Or this tiny little fader. But he did an amazing job.
He did an amazing job.
Really hearing us out. Because Cassidy and I would always be on the same page of like, oh yeah, just a little less filter. Oh, okay, yeah.
And he's like, that's impossible.
I can't.
He's like, I can't do that. And we're like, but just please, just do it one more time.
Just try one more time.
And by that we mean 15 times.
He would do it though.
No, he
got there. Like he had that specificity.
He was in the game.
It really makes a big difference when the brightening up of a timbre is affecting a moment, a gestural moment.
Yeah.
The way it brightens up and how much it brightens up. It expresses in a certain range of dynamic, and if we need that range to be bigger at a certain point and smaller at a certain point, we need to know where we're existing in that dynamic range at any given moment.
Right. So, shouts to Jesse.
Shout out to Jesse Gillen Walters, basic printer boy,
for dealing with us.
Oh yeah.
So we arrive in verse 2.
Back at the verse. And
it's copy paste like harmonically as the first verse. However, we had those little hits, boom, boom. Boom, boom. And this was a cool thing.
Right at the end of the interlude.
Yeah, this was another good lesson for me, learned because of Aaron Walters.
Oh boy.
He was just like, why do you do that for just the very first part?
The original version.
Yeah.
It just hit that and then
didn't
go, and then went back to the verse.
Well, and it's a great idea, but you know, you pose the question, like it happens for such a short amount of time that even though it's a good idea and it's cool, it sounds out of place because we don't get to become familiar enough with it.
It's too deceptive.
It's not seen through. So we elongated that. We doubled the amount of hits, and it just feels correct now.
And the whole verse 3 is built around that feel.
Oh, totally.
That was the issue. Or sorry, verse 2.
Yeah.
The whole verse 2 was originally back to the original feel of verse 1.
Right.
So I was just like, no, like, let's go to that feel in verse 2. Like, let's be in that place.
Right.
That's why it's prefaced in the interlude, because we want to lead back to verse 2 and keep it there.
Right. And it also, this goes back to like, you thought it was a good idea. We didn't just want to abandon it. Why did we keep it? Why was it important? Because it keeps us moving forward. Yeah,
we're talking about this ever-changing world. We want to move to a new place. It's the same exact harmony. Yeah. It's similar melodies. It's similar things. We'll get to other new things in this section.
But we're not at the same place. We're in a new territory. So that was super, super integral to like the overall composition and development for this verse too.
Absolutely.
And then we get back to our fun little false pre-chorus.
Real quick before, I want to point out one of the little fun little world building things in verse 2. Instead of those little those little like waterfall things, we have this kind of thing happening now in the second verse. There's little butterflies or like little, I don't know, like little rainbow coming down. Bubbles. Whatever
bubbles.
They are.
I feel like a fairy is blowing bubbles.
So that's another little element. And then we have this little mini log thing that happens in there too.
Pan. Yes, all of these things are exactly like the stuff.
Yeah.
I get hype hearing them now.
Yeah,
and I've heard them a million times.
We love soloing stuff out.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Just loving it. Just basking in it.
There's so many tiny songs that we could make out of all of the instruments.
Tiny songs
within our big song.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, we're talking about this world being so grandiose and like all these moving parts. It really isn't that. It's really very intentional, like world building that's just like a little, the world can be this big. It can be a little bit bigger. It can be a little bit bigger. And it's not like we're putting all the kitchen sink into this one song necessarily, but there are distinct elements that are giving it a sense of environment.
Right. Like, for instance, just that mini log, I would say is very closely related to how the Juno sounds. So even though it's a new texture, it's not like left field. And we are very careful about those types of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So now we get to the pre-chorus too, and it was originally in pre-chorus 1, it was false. Because it went to a chorus. But now it's sort of false because it's now going not to a chorus. We're going to go to a bridge in a second.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this pre-chorus is that it actually feels very different. Even though it's technically pre-chorus, it almost kind of feels like a new part of the form.
Totally.
So we start to manipulate that. Instead of this from earlier, you might remember you get this right here like this. Right? Same thing with verse 2. Right? And just doing right there, you can hear when we were talking about the differences between pre-chorus, the false pre-chorus 1 and the false pre-chorus 1B, 1A, the vowel was a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
There's like, versus and those are like intentional things, that parts to brighten up the texture. We get to pre-chorus 3, and we have this be-dum, ba-dee-dum, like this whole gesture that's different now. And we end in the end into the bridge right there, right? And think about it though, they're both jumping off this jumps off the same thing. So right after that one, that second partial of that compound beat, 1, 2, 3. The 2 comes in, but then all of a sudden it goes somewhere else.
Right.
So it's like super salient. It's like it's familiar because it's coming in on 2. No, it's different. It's going somewhere else. Right. And that's such a great little difference that really can lead us to a new part of the form very strongly. Which
we do arrive at a new part of the form. Yep. It's this little transition where we do have, for the first time since after chorus 1, new harmonic material.
B flat minor.
Which is just like so sick coming from this. Because we want to go up And
earlier.
And the melody does, but the bass does not.
Oh, yes, here.
And then we do end up in the same spot as it's the verse chords, but because that approach is different, it feels different. Fresh. It's like, oh, I might not even notice that that's the same harmony as before.
We should point out, too, that the pre-chorus wanted to go up each time.
Yeah.
Boom, and then it kind of resolves down into the verse, or resolves into a chorus that lands. This is the first time, because of that B flat minor opportunity, that it can go to this place that it's kind of been wanting to go, and we use this B da da dee da, and then it really rises and lifts into that bridge, which starts with more of a transition into the bridge.
Yeah, for sure.
It sets up what we're referring to the bridge as like the montage, right? it's like we're going to a few different places. It's kind of a multi-section bridge. It shifts our attention, so that way we can kind of be in a fresh place for exactly like Cass said, with the similar harmony, but feeling like we're in a new place.
Right, and this is totally where Speck of Dust is just riding through wherever he's at, taking in so much new material. Again,
new material. There's only been one chorus. We're already at what's technically kind of a bridge, and there's only been one chorus.
Right.
Typically in song form, traditionally you would have two choruses potentially before getting to something different. But we're not doing that. We're moving forward through different parts of the form. We're really feeling that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the big thing about this bridge is the piano that we've had at the beginning, right? The piano that we've had at the beginning, which it was the soloistic piano that started with this line. Right? And then the second interlude was this. Right, so we see how that's a variation, and now finally we get to this bridge where the piano can really start to say something. There's that recap of the harmony. Same theme. Right? Just a little third statement of like, it feels like a brighter realization of the intro and of that intro stuff and of that other interlude.
It's more informed.
It feels more informed and almost like a little more grown up in a weird way.
A little speck of dust.
A little speck of dust.
Coming up right before our little eyes.
God. So yeah, absolutely. It's like sort of fully realized. It's like all of the previous exploration has been leading to that moment.
Yeah.
In a way.
And again, this supports why it had to be a composed solo. It's
exactly.
Because we wanted to achieve this development, and you can't always do that when you're just totally improvising. It's like I'm not at that level.
Yeah,
but guess what?
Some people are, absolutely.
Some people are. I know that I could tell David Rogers to do that, and he could probably do that.
Great example.
But I am not David Rogers, and that is the beauty of modern recording.
Yeah,
you just don't have to.
Do what you can with the time you have.
Do what you can with the time you have. I'd rather make this album and not be able to sit down and do exactly that, but spend the time to compose it and then just move on.
Now we must talk about that fill.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which before, I'll give you a little bit of pre-roll into this just to see like the context of what this earlier demo version before it came to me. Well, demo version. We keep calling them demos. Like
they work. It feels like a demo.
They were in before they came to me. Just so you can kind of hear that context of the bridge and how it leads into that solo, that drum fill moment.
Empty, empty, sad, sad. time slips away. Don't you live a gentle we got click.
Right, so you can see this section feels just like this earlier section.
Right.
Right, it's not very different. Drummer is on ride cymbal, which typically would open things up, but that's the only difference.
Right.
Right, it's the only difference. Okay, so here now, we can come hear that same context. Right, so that fill now, it's supported by this right, in strings, in synth, in all these other things. It's really given a lot of this really huge kind of support.
Right, and it's interesting because the background vocals were there. That background vocal arrangement was my original thing. We really said, well, hey,
we need to fill in all the blanks for it to be
they can't
substantial.
be alone, and that's a perfect setup for the drum fill to kind of come in, and it was just one thing led after another. It's like, oh, well, strings have been present the whole time. We need to write a string line that corresponds with the drums. Okay, why doesn't a synth do the same thing that the strings are doing? Further reinforcement.
Yeah, let's listen real quick to that without the drums.
Even without the drums, makes perfect sense.
Right?
It stands.
Huge moment. And now the drums are doing that because of that. It's almost as if the drums could have heard that and been inspired to make that decision.
Yes.
To fit that decision, right? And then we can land in the chorus, and on top of the ride and open feel with the ride in the chorus, we now have longer string chords and wider synth images and bigger sounds and thicker instrumentation, and it's just a larger orchestrational moment.
Yeah.
So it's all rationalized.
And that's why I hired Aaron Walters.
Intentionality is key. Mother effers.
Gosh, and now I'll just never think the same in the best way.
Wow, that's the best thing that a person who educates people could ever hear and hope for. Gosh darn.
Gosh darn.
So yeah, anyway, you can hear the strings. It foreshadows the drum build moment. It's very distinct with a lot of the strings and bass and other things.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of swirling textures, a lot of continued world building.
Right. And all of that is an effort to propel us into this, only the second chorus.
But we have gone only through two of two choruses.
Two of two, the second of which being extended. But we get here again, and this is the arrival. And I think it was a really, really cool and impactful decision to cut the track out and have that big old drum fill plus everything else, have the decay of that huge moment happen to let space for the vocals. We get that whole first command quietly, time slips away. Don't you live a gentle day. Like, that's the whole point of the song. And we just get to hear that with nothing.
Yeah, it's but commanding.
The day, the decay of what happened before. So I remember it felt to me, and I don't know if other singers feel like this too, if they don't feel like first and foremost a singer, or even singers who do feel like first and foremost a singer, like space is so intimidating.
Sure.
Yeah, my God.
You hear the nuances of your voice.
I fought that decision. And it was one of those things.
The energy that it creates to be fully present in that space prepares us to really be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But then if something cuts out, it's going to re-enter. So it makes the re-entrance of the band hit home.
Silence.
Yeah, in such a great way. And even though I was like, oh no, like I have to, it's also because it's a really hard part to sing.
It's an interesting place for sure.
Yeah. But I had to like step out and just hear the song for what it was and kind of like put my little ego aside And I'm so glad we stuck with that.
Yeah. What I'm not going to do is solo out your voice, but check out the instrumental.
No, you can now that it's all auto-tuned and sounds great.
But I want to actually show what the instrumentation is doing around the vocal without the main vocal there, just at the beginning of the chorus.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like we're really, the vocals, the background vocals are really leading us into that chorus, right?
Yeah.
And supporting us underneath that vocal, so we can kind of really feel that swell into the end.
And there's an argument to be said, like if the chorus are like these voices or like these spirits or something swirling around Speck of Dust's head, rather than like the character themselves, then the oohs are more of those like spirits, like yes, this is even more of a command than it was before. The fact that it's not strings, that it's the same voice that we're hearing pushing us forward, kind of makes sense to me.
Absolutely. The chorus here, its thickness is basking in the knowledge of how colorful the world can be. You know, everything's present. The Speck of Dust is very surrounded by a full, colorful world.
Yeah.
The strings are continuous, the pads are continuous, the chorus is doubled. Like there's more of everything. There's just more. Which, you know, after that double, it brings us to the outro, this grandiose arrival. Really lands on the outro. And before it went on to this whole other outro. That,
we don't have to talk about that.
I don't think we're going to even play that.
No.
But it went to a completely different place. And here we just kind of tapered off that energy.
There's another dimension where there's an extended outro to this. The chords are really cool.
Yeah, it's a
but
cool
again,
part.
that was a cool conversation that you and I had to have, because this was one of the few moments when I passed this project along to you and you were like, quite frankly, like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, well, this is like where taking a risk as a producer is like really where you have to take risks to be a creative guide. It's like if you're coming to me as saying that, like, okay, I believe in your creative expertise.
Yeah. I
have to say, okay, if you believe in my creative expertise, I need to be honest with you about what I think.
Yeah.
And being honest, I think probably actually created trust.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm going to tell you when I think that this outro makes no sense and is performed not well.
Well, let's tell them what it was. So Rhodes just took over.
Yeah.
And this is maybe interesting for you to hear. So the reason that I wanted to have this outro is because I wrote these chords that, like, I was sitting down to write a different song. And then I came up with these chords, and then I was just like, for a show or something, I wanted some like longer extended thing. I had done it one time and it was totally for the sake of, because it sounds cool, you know? And then I'm talking to, old producer, and I'm like, well, it sounds cool, so we got to use these. And then he was like, well, then cool, like we should have some spoken word over it. And I was like, cool. Not even considering, like,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I already have these like Aaron Walter thoughts being flung at me, like, well, Cassidy, you should consider like the implications of having another voice on your record in which there's like, but these are things that you would say.
It's like Jim Carrey.
Yeah. And so it's just so funny that my decisions that had led to, we have this outro that doesn't really fit, just because of the sake of, like, I liked the chords and want to just splat them somewhere. And then we decided to have this artist like do this spoken word, but like didn't really give a lot of direction, and the chords and the timing were weird, so then the performance was weird.
Yeah, and maybe this person is great at spoken word in their comfort context.
Oh, it was just a bad like business handshake, like so much lack of communication, and
you could tell that artistically it just was not on the same page. People are dying to hear this. Maybe this is something you can include somewhere else.
Maybe
we shouldn't put it on the podcast, but
I don't know. We'll see.
Hide it, maybe.
We'll see.
Maybe Easter egg somewhere.
Yeah, and so anyway, it was just so funny that it was immediately obvious to Aaron that it was out of context, like it didn't fit. And then it's just like, well, yeah, the origin of how it all got put on there was not supported by any means. I will say I didn't like the performance either. Like, I already wasn't not a fan, but I was like, oh no, we should like keep the chords and maybe do something else. But then that's when you were like, well, it is a huge implication to have another voice on the record when the whole record is you and then a very important singular other person who is like my best friend Erin, and she's like the reason that I write. That's the
only other track where there's another human
and it's
voice.
like she's the reason that I write music. Like, she encouraged me.
That was a huge part of my reasoning. Remember that. Like, who is this person? Why do they matter right now?
And now I would never do something like that. So
collaborating with people is amazing, but this wasn't the record for that.
No.
so then we're in the outro, and it's about closing the doors, closing the doors on this environment, and
Speck of dust.
It fades off away into the distance, happily ever after in the sunset. I guess it's far away from home. We never brought the speck of dust back home.
I always felt like it was nighttime. Home. Like he had a fun little day.
Yeah.
Now he's gonna go find his new home. He's either back home
or he's just a nomad. He's a nomad. Yeah. Yeah. So it leads to the outro where, or the end of the chorus, you could kind of say, sort of like repeats, part of chorus. You could consider it outro-ish in a way. But we just hit that last chord after the big arrival, and it's just the speck of dust synth as everything else is fading away. And I ended up improvising this like moment, just like in the session. It was one take of this, just went here instead of somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it was just this little phrase that I played. And it very much, I think, ended up representing the sort of speck of dust, like fading off into the sunset, like very much just like goodbye.
Do you want to solo the synths right here? Just the way that they work together. Because we have this thing that's moving. And then speck of dust is flying off.
You can hear speck of dust way up high. And over this course of the song, speck of dust has been getting higher and higher over time.
And that has everything to do with how on the same page you and Jesse are.
Totally.
Because Aaron is improvising these parts for the first and only time. And Jesse is sitting there affecting the synths. And one could not happen with the other. Because you're playing with both hands. Your brain is...
Also, I didn't have any MIDI things mapped to control anything that he was doing over there. I couldn't do it if I wanted to.
Because a lot of Jesse's synths don't even have like a keyboard. Yeah, they're just... the brain. Yeah. So I mean, it just blows me away. Thank goodness you had so much time on the clock with him. There's not another person that could just be like, we have one brain now.
We have single brain.
We have singular brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyways, and that's how we leave the party. Goodbye.
Yeah.
After we've closed the door on that, we can kind of think about the narrator versus codependency thread. This speck of dust narrative works so well because right now the narrator is still in this subconscious place where they don't know about codependency. They're like, oh, okay, I need to change. I need to do something about change, but I may not yet, which the change thread.
Yeah. I would say because Morning Light and Speck of Dust are kind of like this set of songs. That's why our narrator
is in a similar place.
In the relationship with codependency. However, I would say that in regards to change,
it's different.
We've decided, yes, something needs to change, right? We're listening to, wake up essentially, and don't waste your time. And, you don't want to be, old and gray and regretful, right? And if you don't do these things, then you will end up like that, right? So there's a little bit more of the intensity aspect, but the word that we could, boil it down to is fear, right? It's this, oh my God, what happens if I don't? And truly it was this like, I don't think that there could be a worse thing mentally. Oh my God, I get so scared, like than being like looking back and being like, I did not spend my time well. I had one chance.
I know.
And now my body isn't capable. Like, I'm old.
Yeah, I feel like we're all gonna have some of those maybe thoughts, but
gosh,
yeah,
it. Oh my gosh, that's why I think that's why that poem, the poem did its job. Thank you, Dylan Thomas.
Yeah, that's what that poem is.
It totally sparked that in me. I was like, oh my God.
And that's what this is. This is it's almost like the speck of dust is just a little tiny fictional example within our narrative of just like, here's this little thing that's going out of its comfort zone and just enjoying the world. It's no more than that. It's just like a surface level little thing that's enjoying the space around them.
Right.
For the sake of like, opening their minds. It's almost like a hint. It's almost like, hey, narrator, you might want to do something here, but narrator's just fearful and just like, I don't know, I got to do something. So there's definitely where there was a yearning for change in the previous song, right? Like there's a what if I don't change?
Yeah, this is a fear of if you don't. And going back, it had to be encompassed in this nice light baby step, which is why the music is the way that it is. It's this nice lovely place to be. It's the juxtaposition of the fear. It's like, look, it's the difference between being inside and going outside and experiencing new things. And even if that has nothing to do with what you're actually going to have to accomplish, like just put yourself out there in one new way, or
take a step in the right direction.
Yeah, take a step in the right direction. It doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. And then in regards to the tool thread, we still have no tools because we still don't know the problem.
No tools in our tool belt.
We don't know the problem yet.
We don't know the problem yet.
We don't know the problem yet.
All right, so our last little section, our key takeaways that we've learned when we're putting together this review of this song is we talked a lot, a little bit about the composed versus improv thing, right? Like your artist, the artist inspo that has a lot of inspo on improv shit. Like Highest Coyote seems very composed, but it's like it feels like improvisational spirit.
Yeah.
And then there's like Esperanza, and there's like a lot of
Nate
jazz.
Smith,
and Nate Smith,
we have Robert Glasper.
And Brian Blade and the Fellowship and like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that inspiration.
Even Miles Davis was a reference for one of the songs. Just totally.
Right. Yeah. So, the spontaneity of that and the spontaneity that creates and the serendipity. I mean, you can talk a lot about this relationship and facing improv and using composition to help. The drum fill too is another one. Drum fill was improvised, but we composed around it. Right. So it's very much an amalgamation of composition and improv. The piano, the drum fill, the speck of dust being improvised and through composed, but comped and formed in a way and panned and manipulated and produced around this composed environment in a way where it's interacting.
Yeah.
It's definitely a big basis of our approach because improvisation is, it is a form of composition. It's just composition on the fly. And
it's really fast. And composition is just really slow improvisation that you get to keep. Right. I love that you get to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you could theoretically keep improv if you just record it and then transcribe it and whatever. But then
that's composition.
Then you were so good at improvising that you liked it and wanted to keep it as a composition. Yeah,
I think so.
Absolutely. And then another big thing that we talked about from this one is just really realizing just how important this song was for the synths.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. With this being like, okay, we've established the instrumentation until chapter 3 on this song.
Yeah.
Like, and then the fact that we also went in chronological order when we were recording the synthesizers, this kind of set the standard for what our worlds should, could, can look like. And that was highly impactful for the rest of the songs. Yeah,
and the cinematic, like, otherworldliness. I think the synths help that.
Yeah.
It brings it off the ground a bit. It makes it feel a little bit more fictional.
For sure.
And storyifies it.
Storyifies.
Bam. Fake word.
It storyifies with the synthness.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So yeah, this song relies on the synth elements. Again, if these demo versions ever see the light of day as even just examples deep down in some kind of like, experience that only like hardcore fans get to access or something, like, they'll really see the difference of like no world versus and just core instrumentation versus this instrumentation with all this context.
Right.
And what that difference really shows us. And we've kind of heard some of that.
Yeah. I think it would be cool with all of this talk about the way that it sounds with the synths, if we, close out by being like, okay, listen to how different this song, thus then the record, would sound if we didn't make this synth discovery early on.
Yeah.
Let's play a portion of it with all of the synthesizers muted, and then the same portion with the synthesizers
with our version, so not the demo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because even that would be huge. What section do
you think is good?
Oh, the bridge.
Bridge?
Yeah. time slips away. Don't you live a gentle rage against the dying light. Don't you feel
right? Sounds like very acceptable and good. But the thing is that it sounds like something that could be more like that could be created by anyone in some regards, right? Like it's a texture that is I should say the texture is a texture that we're familiar with. So by adding some deception and texture, we get this. Right. And just as another example of a little exercise that we don't always get to have access to, let me actually solo out all the synths by themselves.
Ooh, tiny little synth world.
And just play the synths by themselves, maybe with reference of like Rhodes, maybe.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Right, so we really can see how that's kind of just adding this depth to everything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we take with us this synth discovery and even go more nuts in echoes.
Yeah, and continue to get on this how production, right? It adds gloss, it creates canvas, it creates glue. It's an instrument unto itself. Like production will continue on this record to be, to be a thing that really ties everything together. And even in the last chapter where production takes a little bit more of a back seat, it still has these more finite, focused gestures and intentions behind, like, okay, this one thing or these two things or a few different little things we'll do to keep that going on.
Right.
And so, we'll get to echoes next.
Yes. Arguably the most synthetic song on the record.
Pretty intense.
Which
again, towards the first chapter, more synthetic.
Right. Prominent. And you get to meet the mind snakes.
Mind snakes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Don't let them get you.
Don't let them get you. Okay. Well, thanks again for sticking with us.
See you on the next one.
Bye.
Toodles.